What's up, guys? I'm yugioh, and you're watching the Structure Deck Wars. Stick around. Hey, what's up, guys? I hope everybody had a great holiday. I know I spent some time with family this past holiday for Thanksgiving, but the Structure Deck Wars must continue, and as such, we have a very interesting matchup. We have Dark Emperor, or as I like to call it, the Banished Structure Deck, versus Order of the Spellcasters, the newest Pendulum Magician Structure Deck. So, if you're new to this series, basically what this is, the Structure Deck Wars is my ongoing experiment to determine what is the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Structure deck of all time. And my goal as of late is to get this thing done and resolved before January, because I believe January they drop a brand new structure deck, and I'd much rather just compare the winner to the new guy versus, having to redo the whole damn thing. So, oh, real quick before we get into the replay footage for this Structure Deck Wars, I have an announcement. I have created a new Instagram that is strictly just for you, for the Yu-Gi-Oh guys. It is B10K of yugioh. I'll have a picture somewhere around here, I think. Yeah. So look me up, guys. I have a brand new Instagram. I have a lack of content there at the moment, but more is coming, and it's a good way for you guys to keep up with my channel. So, without further ado, guys, let's get into that replay footage. Okay, guys, hold your pitchforks. I know it's a little bit weird. I know some of you guys might be a little bit angry, but hold on, let me explain. Alright, so the first thing that you guys are going to realize is when we're looking around me, we are looking at the Pendulum deck. We always look at the losers first. So, why did this deck lose? some real simple explanations. It's because the other structure deck is a banish-based deck, and pendulums need their monsters to go to the extra deck to keep the pluses going, right? That didn't happen here. The other part of it is like this deck actually can brick. It does play cards that aren't, advantageous to its strategy. Oh, well, hello. Sidekick. Isn't he cute? Anyway, like I was saying, like, for example, the original Endymion is a brick. Also, we have a Gemini monster, which is a little slow. Powerful, but a little slow. But this deck actually was able to put up a good fight because of one card, Fairy Tale Luna. Kept bouncing stuff back, and that was how this deck was able to keep up the fight. But once things like D-Fissure, Macro, Banisher of the Radiance, etc. hit the field and just kept banishing stuff, I mean, from that point, it was game over. One of the other things this deck lacked is it actually didn't have very good defense, believe it or not. The Pendulum deck just isn't well equipped to fight banishment. And as you guys know, in any card game, luck plays a factor. There's going to be duels where you just draw absolute ass no matter how well built your deck is. And this structure deck is nothing if not well built. I will say that much. I mean, Pot of Avarice, especially in a slower pace format like the Structure Deck Wars, even Magician of Faith is still a viable card. On top of that, having a lot of searchability. I mean, Spell Power Grass, Terraforming, Spell Power Control, Spell Power Mastery, that's the OCG name. Yeah, this deck had stuff going for it. It's just some of its defensive cards just didn't quite help. Like, Gaga Shield, saw it too late. Magician Circle, well, the other deck plays Spellcasters too, so, oops. Magical Burst, this doesn't do anything because you gotta send it to the graveyard, and you can't do that if you're stuck with like a Macros on the field. Same thing with Arcane Barrier. So some of these cards just didn't do anything. And then of course Disenchanter is obviously still a brick, just like the original Endymion. Also, Dark Magician of Chaos, as powerful as it is, it was a brick. I mean, if you don't have the monsters to tribute. And with things like D-Fissure and Macro up, cards couldn't come back if they were pendulum monsters, and so yeah, that's that's a plethora of reasons why. Now if we come over to the deck that won, the Dark Emperor structure deck, or as like I said at the beginning, I call it the Banish structure deck. This deck had a few things going for it. So one of the things that it had going for it was it's a Banish based deck, and there's a lot of cards that banish in it. So I mean, we have a card that's limited to one. We got to play 2 copies of it, and that's Dimensional Fissure. So basically, between the 2 Dimensional Fissures and the Macrocosmos, this deck literally had a play set of cards that say, oh, you need monsters? It also, it saw Macro more than once, so that was there. Also, it has a ban card, Return from the Different Dimensions, which is a powerful card. So, unfortunately for the Pendulum deck, being able to go +4 for next to no cost is pretty powerful. I believe in one replay, it's what took the game. So yeah. Also, it has some really powerful tech cards like Dark Core, being able to get rid of things like Luna without, playing a monster. Same concept with Brain Control. If you don't have a monster, you just, okay, I'll take your monster then. Haha, if it goes off a few times. Also, it had Recursion, combining the Different Dimension Fissure, plus things like DD Scout Plane and DD Survivor. Basically, this allowed this deck to just have a constant defense. Yes, you take some damage up front, but you won't take damage later, because then you can flip, because they'll come back during the end phase, and then you'll flip them to defense on, on your turn. That was one of the really powerful moves it had. There were some negatives, though, like, for example, Golden Homunculus, DDM, or Different Dimension Master. Just these 2 cards are basically brick. Caius, the Shadow Monarch, was cool, but it was very susceptible to Luna being able to just bounce it back. So then you could only attack with your weaker monsters. I mean, it is what it is. One of the cool things it did have going for it was Grand Maju. I do think that Grand Maju and Golden Homunculus, They're the same thing, but if we were doing like the perfect version of this deck, I wouldn't even bother with Grand Maju. But I am thinking about doing something like that for a future version of this deck, or a future tournament idea, is doing the Structure Deck Wars like Mach 2 or something, and this time we get to perfect them. Perfect and modernize. But, you know, that's just an idea for maybe, you know, a year or two down the road. But, yeah. So this was a very interesting matchup. An old deck actually beat a much newer one, which was very shocking. But it is the Banished deck. So, Dark Emperor it gets to go to the next round, which is funny because this is also considered a Monarch structure deck, and the actual Monarch structure deck got slapped down, and this old thing's gonna just keep it trucking. Oh, goodness, it's funny. Alright, guys. Well, I hope you're enjoying the Structure Deck Wars. Make sure you stay tuned. You're going to be getting some extra ones this week, and I'm working extra hard. I'm trying to steamroll this thing out and get it done to you ASAP. So, if you're enjoying the Structure Deck Wars, make sure you drop me one of these, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.